Welcome to Thriving with Chiropractic, where Dr. Mosier from Mosier Family Chiropractic shares a variety of topics designed to empower, inspire, and give hope. Take a few notes and enjoy the lesson.
Well, hey folks, Dr. Mosier here, and I have a phenomenal guest, Dr. Erik Lerner. And you've actually seen his older brother, I believe older, if I'm saying that right, Dr. Ben on the show a couple times before. Well, Dr. Erik, he actually treats my parents. So my parents are now they're snowbirds. They flew down to Florida. They want to be where it's nice and sunny and it's warm. And mom has this massive kyphosis in her upper back, being a nurse for so many years, and dad having terrible sciatica pain, feet pain, because he worked in a factory for so many years. So I wanted to make sure I found a really good chiropractor for them to be seen by. And Dr. Erik, we've communicated back and forth over the phone. We've met each other at seminars and things like that. And not only is he a phenomenal, clinically sound chiropractor, but he cares. He has 4 kids at home. We were just talking about how our youngest are 3 years old. If I remember, 3, 7, 10, 13.
Yes, good job.
Yes. Okay. I'm doing pretty good today. But the other neat thing is, so the Olympics was in London back in 2012. Well, Dr. Erik, he was a part of the healthcare team for the wrestling team, which I'm assuming that was an awesome experience.
Probably the greatest thing I've got to do as a chiropractor. It was a blast.
Awesome. So, Dr. Erik, I got to ask you, you've been in practice for quite a number of years. How did you get started? Why did you become a chiropractor?
Sure. And I do want to say, too, when you invited me to be on the show, this is an incredible honor. I really appreciate it. Your parents are just a dream to take care of. And also, as I do anytime I talk to anybody who lives up north, let you know it's a sunny, breezy 82 degrees down here right now. So
thanks. It's currently raining and it's cold outside. So thank you for that.
Just say your parents are wise. So my start in chiropractic. So I've been in practice almost 30 years now, and so I'm not sure if this is uncommon, especially for when I went to school. But I became a chiropractor because of a personal experience I had as a chiropractic patient. So for me, growing up, it wasn't my experience with chiropractic wasn't related to any sort of pain issues. I didn't have back pain or neck pain, but when I was a kid, I was just constantly sick. So I had allergies, I had asthma, I had croup. If anybody was sick at all in the school, if I came near anything germ-wise, I'd get sick immediately. So basically my entire childhood, my nose was running, I was coughing, and I was struggling to breathe. And my parents brought me to doctor after doctor. I was on all the shots, taking all the drugs. And really nothing did anything to touch anything I was going through. So I think it's interesting. My parents kept taking me to the doctors. I kept taking the medications, but really nothing was changing anything I was dealing with at all. And then when I was getting towards the end of high school, my brother, Dr. Ben, who you just mentioned, who back then was not Dr. Ben, just Ben, he had recently been to a chiropractor for some health issues that he was experiencing and had some pretty miraculous results. And so he talked to me about getting checked out. And my thought originally was, what in the world is a chiropractor going to do about this? But I went. Ben was, Ben's my brother, so I went and got checked out. And really there was a few concepts that the chiropractor taught me. And again, I'm like 17, 18 years old. But there's a few concepts that he taught me that really were life-changing and turned out, in the end, be life trajectory changing as well. But the first thing that he talked me about is he said, we went through everything I was dealing with, all the asthma, allergies, all the stuff I just said. And he said, Erik, he said, all of those things, he goes, those are not your problems. He said, those are the result of your problem. And so if you're listening to that and you're like, what do you mean? That's exactly what I thought back then too. I was like, what are you talking about? And he said, listen, the allergies you have, the asthma, the breathing issues, being sick all the time, that's a problem your body, because that's happening because of a problem your body has. He said, there's people around you who are breathing in the same things every single day who don't have these allergic reactions, right? So allergies are reactions. There's people who are breathing fine. There's people who can go into school and not get sick because somebody, on the second floor has got a cold when you're in, homerooms on the first floor. He's like, so this is a problem your body is having. All of those things are reactions or symptoms. They're not the problem. So that was concept number one. That was kind of eye-opening. And then the other biggie is he said, the healthier we could get you, if we can get your body healthier, if we could get you stronger, if we could get your body functioning closer to the way it should be functioning in the first place. So again, the people who could go outside for a walk without their nose running or without coughing or their eyes itching, the people who are breathing fine, he said that's normal, right? So that's a normally functioning body. That's a body reacting to the things in the air the right way. If we can get you healthier, stronger, closer to the way you should be in the first place, he said that will give you your best chance to get over these issues you're having. And that made sense to me. And then finally, on top of that, he said, one of the things we'll have to do is, I want you to look at what you're doing in with your lifestyle. And is there anything you're doing that's not good for you, something that's not going to make you healthier? Let's try to get rid of it. So he said, look at all the medications you're taking. Because I was taking a lot of drugs at that point. I always remember I was in math class, was at a certain time of day for me where the medication I was taking, I think they still sell this, but I was taking this thing called like chlorotrimethrin or Trimetin. And so in math class each day, I'd be knocked out. So I'd turn into a zombie. So fortunately, I'm good at math, so I was all right. But with the grades, but I was a zombie in that class. And he said, so these drugs you're taking, do you think those are making you healthier? Are those good for you or not good for you? I was like, probably not good for me. Yeah, they're made of, all the chemicals and things in them. He said, so they're not helping you anyways in terms of how you feel. As a chiropractor, I'm not going to tell you to take or not take a drug, but, think maybe you'd be better off if you stopped taking those. And I was like, I guess so. I'd be healthier. Right. So anything that makes you healthier or stronger gives you a better chance to get well. So none of the drugs I was taking were drugs I couldn't drop cold turkey. So I did. I stopped taking the drugs after visit number 1 to the chiropractor. He then looked at my spine, right, and saw some issues, the biggest ones up towards the top of my neck. And he taught me about how the nervous system, the central nervous system, controls everything in your body, including your immune system, which really, for me, the allergies are an immune system issue. Obviously, being sick all the time, immune system issue. Even my asthma, and this is the case, I think, for a lot of kids with asthma, it really went back to an immune system issue and the fact that my body was constantly struggling with everything I was coming in contact with. And so these problems I had in my spine were affecting my nervous system. My nervous system controls the function of every organ in my body, including my immune system. And so he started working on that. So literally I made 2 changes. I stopped taking drugs. I started getting adjusted. And within about 6 months, I started to notice I was doing better. And about a year later, I would say I was probably pretty much healed, right? There's all those things, and Dr. Chris, you probably hear this a lot too. After a while, you stop thinking about it, and you get this from your patients. And then about a year later, I was looking back and thinking, I haven't been sick in I don't know how long, right? Or I haven't had an issue. I'm not really having an issue this year walking around outside. I don't know when it stopped, but I know right now it's not going on. And really that was I was probably like 19 years old at the time. Now I'm about to turn 53. I've never had allergies since, never had asthma since. I do very well cold and flu season. Did very well through COVID, and it just turned my life around. So that experience as a patient made me change the course of what I thought I wanted to be in my life. I always thought I'd be an orthodontist, but that was so life-changing for me that made me want to become a chiropractor.
Nice. That is absolutely amazing. I love hearing these stories of how chiropractors' lives, they're turned around at a young age. Really, we were in college and Ellen had these debilitating migraines, and the chiropractic swooped in and changed all that for us. And it's kind of neat that your story is not a neck pain or a back pain. It's your overall health and your immune system was being destroyed. You were this young, fit, 17-year-old that's, struggling with getting sick all the time. And people probably start to think, man, Erik is always sick. He's always coming up with these excuses, and it was probably really frustrating at the time. So it's really neat how that transformed your life.
Yeah, no doubt. I was a wrestler, so
you were really in shape.
Yeah, I was in the shape of my life, and obviously at 17, younger than 52, and but sicker than a 52-year-old, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So, Dr. Erik, what is the most memorable patient story? I know you've seen thousands upon thousands of people, and it's probably hard to really narrow it down, but any that just come to your mind?
Yeah, so I have been in practice a long time. We have had a fairly large family practice for most of my career, so I have seen a lot of really fantastic things. But as far as my favorite story, it's actually not hard to come up with it, because it's something I think about all the time. But there was a young girl. Her mom brought her in. I used to have a radio show, and so her mom heard this radio show I had, and I was talking about that same message I just told you. I was talking about what my story was, right? Mm-hmm. And she had a young daughter. Her daughter was 5 years old. Her name was Azoria. And Azoria, when she was, I think, around like 18 months old, she had a health trauma where she ended up in the hospital, ended up having her kidneys failed. She was on dialysis the rest of her life after that. But so at 5 years old, when her mom brought her in, Azoria looked more like an 18-month-old. It was almost like her body stopped developing. So she was basically, doctors labeled it as failure to thrive. But she was 5 years old, wasn't walking, wasn't talking. Again, just real small, just didn't look good. So we were telling earlier, the healthier, stronger you are. She wasn't healthy at all, wasn't strong at all. And again, just cute as can be, but really not struggling. Yeah. So we looked at her spine, saw something again, like right at the very top, her atlas, the top bone in the neck, which that area in children, Dr. Chris, you have kids yourself, you know this, you take care of a lot of kids, that bone in particular, typically from the birth process, the fact that the head is twisted and pulled, it's the most susceptible to sliding out of position early in life. But it surrounds and protects the brain stem and the cranial nerves, which is the most important part of the entire nervous system. So, you're better off doing damage to any other part of your spine than that top bone in your neck. That's one that Christopher Reeves broke. And this probably dates me. So anybody under the age of 50 is like, who?
I've heard about this story.
Okay, so the guy who played Superman in the 76 version, right? So he breaks his neck here, and he's paralyzed below, but he also has, pacemaker, can't breathe, dialysis, the whole 9 yards, but hurting his nervous system here. Well, that bone in Azoria's neck was really far out of position. And so we started taking care of her, started adjusting her, and it was probably 3 or 4 months into her care. And one day her mom comes to the door, and in my office, the front, we're in like a shopping center. We have like a grocery store. There's a dentist next to us, then us. And so our whole front wall is glass, so you can see the parking lot. So I happened to be standing in the hall I was actually at my front desk, kind of in front of the front desk, and I could see the mom coming up to the door carrying Azoria. And so she opens the door, and the mom says, "Hey, I want you to see something." She puts Azoria down, and I'm standing probably 10 feet from the front door, and Azoria comes walking into the office. Right, so I'm getting chills thinking about it. So so she's 5, but she's walking like whatever an 18-month-old learning to walks like, where they kind of waddle. But she walked across the office to me, and me and my staff were all there just cheering and crying and all that. So that moment, that's never been tough for me. That was something pretty special. And again, just still goes back to the idea that, this thing happens to her at birth, and her body just it's not thriving, but it's just that there was something interfering with the nervous system, causing her body not to be able to be as strong as it should be, to be as healthy as it should be, and to thrive like it should. No one had ever looked for that. They just gave her drugs or PT, physical therapy, to try to address what they saw, right? She can't walk, so let's try to work on leg muscles. She can't talk, let's try to see if there's anything speech development. But in the end, those things were a result of a problem inside. We were just the first one to ever find it.
Wow. That is absolutely amazing how much the nervous system can do. Because what it sounded like is she was just being written off as failure to thrive. Nothing we can do about it. Good luck. Go ahead.
Her mom did not have a lot of money. They were Haitian, and I don't know if I think the system wasn't even necessarily treating them right. So just written off from society, and thank God she was listening to that station that day.
That is absolutely amazing. And we're kind of doing a similar thing. You had the radio station. We're doing this podcast because we believe that everyone has a story worth sharing. And Dr. Erik, you definitely have a story worth sharing. But your story's not done, right? Even though you've been in practice, you said 30 years, if I heard correctly.
Yeah, so it's 29 years right now.
29 years. You don't look a day over 29. But you're still thriving in practice. What are your goals now? And I know you just joined coaching the CCC, and if you're in the audience, so there's a Christ-centered chiropractic group that Dr. Erik is one of the main coaches in. I want to hear from you, Dr. Erik.
Yes, I mean, I am. So I'll be 53 in another month or so. And when I graduated chiropractic college, I was young. I back in those days, you could go to undergrad, get your prerequisites done, and go right into chiropractic school. So I was the youngest kid starting chiropractic school. I was the youngest kid graduating chiropractic school at the time. So I've been in practice, like I said, almost 30 years. That's there's some wear and tear on the body. I'll be 53 soon. So, just all that just to say that my career doesn't have a ton more time in it, right? Now my attention, it's not, I am still taking care of my patients. I've got a few years left, but really my attention is being turned more towards looking at people like yourself who maybe have a few more years ahead of you to serve people in your communities, and just try to share by teaching, from my experience, just try to, impart wisdom that I've gained in the almost 30 years of practice I have, to try to help other doctors serve more, see more, and maybe see more Azorias and even more people like myself when I was introduced to chiropractic. So trying to save lives through other doctors is really my future, the way I look at it.
So really what we're looking at is you're about to have even more of a exponential influence in the world, in healthcare, which is, to me, absolutely fascinating, because there's so much as a young chiropractor we can learn from you. But this show has been awesome. I'm so glad we had you on the show, and I really appreciate you taking the time to share with us, and I hope to do this again sometime.
I think you're fantastic. I love talking to you anytime. So this was great.
Awesome. Thank you.
If you found value in this video, Please comment and let us know your biggest takeaway. We also ask that you don't keep this information to yourself. We ask that you share it with your friends and family by simply clicking the share button below.